Bean. Who else is coming up? Tom Bizzano. Maybe Deb Bizzano, if you clap really hard and believe in fair age. Our Starcade champ here. Anyone else that I missed? I know Steve didn't make it this year. He's like a staple of the show. Yeah, if you have any questions for us, you can just ask away. Maybe someone will take some photos for them so they can read it. Shoot.
Outside of pinball games, I mean, literally, how many actual video games, stand-up video games are being created these days? Any?
Sorry, say that one more time.
I said, outside of pinball games, how many actual stand-up arcade games are still being created these days? Any at all? Or?
Yeah, I mean, does anyone know? I don't know.
Yeah, they're still being created. I mean, Japan definitely still has an arcade culture, and some of the stuff makes it over here. Here in the U.S., what you'll see mostly is a lot of the times a lot of new redemption games, ticket pusher games, large driving experiences where you see 8 or 10 sit-down booths connected, shooting games or sports games, and most everything else is all about redemption nowadays. Getting the tickets and going and getting a plush toy at the counter for it, which they had back in the day that nobody cared about for the most part. But they're still being made. Global VR, a few other companies, EA, they still make games. Some of the big companies still do. Namco especially, Sega still has an arcade division.
Well, yeah, I guess there's that kind of for like right.
Yeah.
Shoot.
I've noticed a trend where some arcades will bring in consoles for fighting game tournaments. What's your opinion on this?
I don't have an opinion. Do you guys have anything?
What was the question again? Consoles for tournaments?
Yeah, arcades actually bringing in consoles for their fighting game tournaments.
What arcades are you going to? Tell me whether they're...
I know of quite a few good ones around Northern California, actually.
Okay. For like the fighting competitions and stuff. So a little bit.
Yeah,
like
that's like the fighting scene, right?
Yeah, but I was just wondering what your opinion was on that kind of thing having to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it sort of speaks to the issue about these being endangered species, and that's why I think the film really is a call to action. Preserving this culture is an important part of our use and so on and so forth. So,
And
yeah.
and the thing about fighting games, they've always been kind of a social thing. So I mean, even if they play around at their house, they taking it to the arcade, even if they have to bring the console with them.
Yeah, you can talk smack on the Xbox. It's not just quite cool. Nudge the guy next to you.
Again, it's a weird dichotomy too, because in Japan, there's a huge arcade scene around fighting games. And you go there, and it's nothing but fighting games, just rows and rows and rows of, plopping down and playing Street Fighter and stuff. And here, everybody plays at home or online, gathers up in a living room. So it's really different.
But I can give a quick little story about fighting games in Japan. It's funny because here when you play a fighting game, the person is right next to you, and you can be like, kind of get mad at them. In Japan, because I've actually been a couple of times, you're playing a game, and the game that you're playing against is on the opposite side of you. So you'll be playing, and all of a sudden somebody comes in, and you're like, who is that? You have to kind of walk around the cabinet and look, hey. So it's completely like different, it's like social being antisocial kind of.
So I think we have a question for our only female review. So.
No, that's okay.
In our first Q&A. You really don't want to get this.
Do they still hold these super auctions for old games?
That wasn't a question. I'm sorry. It's fine. I think they've sort of fallen a little bit out of favor, but
Yeah, super auctions. The heyday was like around mid to late 90s, and then it went all the way to maybe I'd say maybe about a good 10 years out of it. But super auctions kind of got a bad reputation, and then someone else who used to work for super auctions started their own. So, Captain Chris is really I think the only source, at least in California. But again, even then, the days of getting the cheap classics, you're going to find mostly like the JAMA-based games, or I don't even know what you find anymore. Basically, a lot of bad stuff.
Or if you do find the classics, they go for way too much.
Yeah.
They get bid up. They'll usually put them up first. They go for way more than what it's actually worth given the condition.
parallel, the best parallel I can give you is like classic cars, if you guys are into cars. And so it's finding that sort of elusive barn find.
Yeah.
They still can be found, they're still out there. Granted, like the super rare, like the laser games, or maybe just a rare low production run, you can find them. I mean, I was having this conversation yesterday that, you know, the first generation of collectors, I like to think that I was sort of part of that. And, you know, we're all getting older, we're having families and priorities are shifting, and we're eventually kind of looking at, including myself, of kind of getting rid of our stuff and sort of thinning it down just for life. And so those are now going to present opportunities for other people to come in and say, hey, you know, I've been wanting to find this Space Ace or Cobra Command or something.
And you're willing to discount for the next generation?
Oh, yeah, of course. Exactly. Always a price.
For you, Jeff, how much traveling did you have to do to watch?
A fair amount, yeah. I mean, all the money's on the screen, right? So I use my frequent flyer miles. I mean, literally like a couch service. I slept in Damon's house. I went down to Southern California. I mean, it was really a lot of couch surfing. Chris Alcott, I slept in his. He had this. He put me down in this basement room. Like you walk down the stairs, there's a bed. And you look this way, and there's this arcade. So it was kind of cool. So I was basically kind of sleeping in the arcade. But that kind of cold because it's like his AC was like right above the bed. So a lot of the East Coast interviews were like conducted, hacking off camera and trying high on Sudafed, which is probably what we had some great. Right?
I can ask you a question. So how many hours of footage did you shoot?
Hundreds. I mean, so yeah, this project actually started in 2007 at California Extreme, back at the previous location, Forsyth Hall, and yeah, literally hundreds and hundreds of hours. And then, I was working. Damon's a professional editor, so I was working with him a little bit, just asking him questions like, how do I even just the data wrangling. So it was a huge learning curve for me because you can see I'm an amateur filmmaker. It was a passion project. I'm a collector. I was approaching it from that spirit as a fellow collector, and kind of wanted to tell the stories I didn't think I could get involved before. So, but yeah, I think at one point I counted it was about 800 hours. It seems like a crazy amount, especially because I did spend almost the entire year just transcribing programs, which actually helped quite a lot when it came to trying to organize the film. So it was really fun. Like everybody talking about Dragon's Lair, wherever they kind of make the movies or make sense. And that's the amazing thing to me was like some of these conversations took place years apart, but it was like having everybody in the same room having the same conversation, finishing each other's sentences. So that was exciting. I thought, okay, there's something here. For a long time I felt like there wasn't.
Can I say something about some of the bonus discs?
Oh yeah, please. Thanks for asking about that. So yeah, I think there's like another hour and a half of extras. It's a lot of outtakes, like more like diving in more in depth about vector games and rare games and laser games, and there's just tons of stuff, and all the transcribed interviews are on the disc because I felt like this bad kind of like throwing it away. So if you feel like you really want to dive deep, then like here, read like some of these guys I talked to like for 4 or 5 hours, so you can read the entire interview for yourself, and some of them are just really fascinating. So and then all the trailers, some of the previous shows I did a Q&A at Northwest Arcade Pinball Show recently, and that's on there, and the guy that was running that did some kind of cool After Effects kind of things for me. It was surprised. I was just walking down the hall and I saw these things that we love it for disc TV. So yeah, just tons of stuff. There's a little poster. There's 3 discs. Everyone should walk out with one. So I'm terrible at pitching this stuff. You and then you.
So it's 2 questions. First one, so I actually just went to the Northwest Pinball Show, and then obviously here at California Extreme, and I'm surprised at the amount of games from my youth that I still don't see. So I guess the first question is there I know there's a ton of like random obscure ones, but like of the like, was it every golf land, was it every putt-putt? Like do we know how many total arcade games there were kind of in like, from 1978 to kind of 84? Like,
Scott Evans is probably the right guy to ask about that.